I want to get to the biggest news that happened over the weekend. Frank Ragnow, who, everyone was just kumbaya-ing and celebrating being back, is not coming back anymore. So it just continues to get worse. This might have been one of the worst weekends in Detroit sports in a while. This was a rough one. Just everything that was just compiling on Michigan sports, I guess I'll say, because you had Michigan get destroyed, Frank go back into retirement, the Pistons lost last week, and then you had, all types of shit going on. So it's just been an eventful weekend. So let's just start with the Frank stuff. Yeah, Frank is not coming out of retirement. He failed his physical. Apparently, the medical exam in the physical revealed a grade 3 hamstring strain. So that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, awesome. I don't know where a grade 3 hamstring strain came from. I guess he hurt himself training, I guess would be the assumption. I doubt, I doubt that he was just chilling with a hamstring strain. So I would assume he hurt himself training, which is very unfortunate. And I guess the thing that sucks is Frank Ragnow returning was just going to inject a bunch of hope into Lions fans, including myself, and give me more hope for what's going to happen this season. And it just feels like a shot in the foot. Now he's not returning, and you are stuck with what you got essentially on the O-line. And now Jared Goff is going to be basically on life support every other game. So that's something we have to pay attention to moving forward, because I still believe this offensive line is what's holding this entire team back, and the defense breaking down, and the pass rush not being as good, and all the injuries that are piling up. It's not just the O-line anymore, to be honest with you, and some of the questionable offensive play calling. There's a lot more than just O-line problems here. So, again, I'd be feeding you BS if I told you that Frank was he was the linchpin in them winning a Super Bowl after watching last Thursday's game. There's a lot more going into problems here. Like, there's a lot more issues than people let on. I mean, I talked about the D-line this weekend. You can go check that out. I pointed out a bunch of problems with the pass rush and how it's been a problem lately. So they have to figure that out. I know they asked Aiden about it. He's like, hey, we just have to play better, which I guess is the only really answer he can give. It's not like any help's coming at this point. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they said they're good. So this is what they got. And it has not been good. It has not been. So that's another issue. The offensive line, a big issue, and Frank not returning. So it stings, man. It sucks. Frank is a very good player. He's someone that's familiar with this offense. And he is the type of player, to be fair, if he were to return, adds a ton of juice into your O-line, makes your offense better, makes your run game better, makes your quarterback better. He makes everyone better on your offense. I've interrupted the video to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper in the new promotion they have going on. A brand new promotion is now live on Sleeper that could be paired with the 100% deposit match promotion that's already been going on. It's a free $20, no deposit required, plus first-time users will also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Use the code CT Sports. You guys should already be using Sleeper. It's one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the entire world with millions and millions of active users. They are crushing it. And if your state allows it, you should be using Sleeper Picks. It's a real money product that connects friends over picks. You just choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame live or across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. Don't forget, code CT Sports. Get a $100 deposit up to $100, and you got your free $20 entry. Sleeper is taking care of their customers. Always remember, gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the video. So it's a big deal. It is a big deal. So Frank not returning sucks, and Dan Campbell gave some context, or at least clarity. Shout out Broder, by the way. I see you in there, Broder. My guy. What's going on, bro? Appreciate you for watching. I see you streams only in there. JJ, all the people that are watching. Appreciate you guys. Shift, I see you in there as well. Justin. I'm going to play this interview from Dan Campbell. He spoke to Jim Costa and John Jansen this morning and gave clarity on essentially Frank coming out of retirement and what went into that, but which we kind of know, but he's just going to talk about it again. And then he'll answer the big question, which I think you guys want to know. Is Frank Ragnow going to play next year? That's the question. And that's the important question. Is he coming back next year? Here's Dan Campbell on that question. Let's take a listen.
So you got to reset. And let's start with Frank. What was the communication? Was that you guys reaching out to him or him reaching out to you in regards to him possibly coming out of retirement?
No, I mean, he wanted to play, so he wanted to give it another go and felt like he could do it. And, and then we obviously brought him in on the physical, and he had something going on there that it was going to take a while to get that thing rehabbed and fixed. So obviously it just didn't make sense at that time. We love Frank, appreciate Frank, man, and wish him best of luck as always. He'll always be a Lion.
I know it doesn't matter this year, but is there any indication that maybe he'd want to be a part of the organization next year?
No, I mean, I have no indication of that.
Yeah, because on the outside, it looked odd that he thought he could play with what sounds like a pretty serious hamstring injury. He just thought he could power through?
Yeah, well, I think he knew. He told us. I mean, but it did not sound as severe as the imaging looked, and what it was going to take to get it right.
All right, so there's your clarity. Dan Campbell hit on some important things there. Not as much the Frank coming out of retirement thing. We already kind of knew how that happened. We've already heard that stuff. So mainly whether or not he'll play next year, and what's the ordeal with the hamstring injury. Like, did he know about it? Did he just assume he was going to be able to play through it? And like Dan Campbell said, he didn't think it was as severe as it was. They got the screening. It is very severe. Grade 3 hamstring. And that's a lengthy return, or that's a lengthy rehab. So not good. Again, there's no clarity on kind of how he tore it or what happened, but all Dan kind of clarified there is he had the injury. He thought he could play through it. Obviously he can't. But the big thing I want to hit on is what Dan said, and the question that John Jansen asked is, "You think he plays next year?" And he says, "I can't really address that." Frank needs to play next year. All right, Frank needs to play next year, and I think there's a part of me, and I don't know Frank, I don't know what's going on in his head, but I would like to think, as much as Taylor, as kind of mentioned in his post-game interview after the Packers game, how much Frank missed his teammates and how bad he wanted to come back and play with Taylor, with Panay and his guys. Part of me would lean on the side of maybe Frank missing his opportunity to play this season will motivate him to play next season. I don't think he'll just be like, man, I want to play. He's been debating it for a while. I'm just looking at the human element here. He's been looking at playing for a while. He's been debating it. He's been itching to get back. And then a hamstring keeps him out. And he's just going to go, I'm going to go retire. Like, no, I think there's there's that fire inside Frank still. And I think what's going to motivate him even more is seeing this team underachieve. So I think seeing this team underachieve, missing him, but struggling at the position in which he plays, I think next season there's going to be a lot of fire in Frank, and I think he'll play next season. I do. That's the feeling I have. I just, maybe that's just me being hopeful and positive, but on top of that, I think it's realistic. I think it's realistic to expect Frank to, return this offseason. At least you'll have the indication he'll be back ahead of time. I can't see Frank having the fire to come back and play, and then all of a sudden just being like, I'm good. I'm just not going to return. Just because of a hamstring injury. So that's really my thoughts on it. I think he does play next year. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.